Good afternoon, children. Hope you all are studying very well. Now, sometimes I get requests for the children for seeing the previous videos that has been uploaded. Now, all these videos are there in Dr. D. Ram YouTube channel. If you search there, children, you will get my previous videos, and try to watch the videos on that day itself so that everything is clear to you step by step. And if you leave one video, you will be missing the notes too. So I request you, children, to daily try to watch the videos uploaded by your teachers. Do not miss them. And if you miss any of them for any reason, please go to Dr. D. Ram YouTube channel and you will get all the videos that has been uploaded by your subject teachers. As we were doing soil types, so we have completed alluvial soil, black soil, red soil and laterite soil. We have also done the comparison between these soil types. Today I will be complete this topic of soil, and so today we will be studying first arid soil and then forest soil. Now, arid and forest or mountain soil, both of them is transported soil, that they are moved from their place of formation, place of origin to some other place. First, the arid soil. The term arid itself gives you the meaning that this is the soil of desert areas. So our desert area lies in western part of Rajasthan, and so this arid soil is abundantly found in the western part of Rajasthan, that is the desert area of our Thought Desert or the Rajasthan Desert. Now this soil type has a color ranging from red to brown. So wherever the color is reddish, the rocks, the parent rocks are of reddish color. That's why the soil is of red color. Now children, you must have heard of sandstone, like our Red Fort is made up of red sandstone. If you go to Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, there you will find the rocks are of yellow color. So sandstone is formed from the particles of sand. Now this particles of sand is derived from the mother rock, which is sandstone. So the color varies from place to place. Some places the color is red sandstone, some place the color is yellow sandstone. So the color ranges from red to brown in this part of our country. Because it is made up of sand, so the texture is sandy, and it is the main constituent of the arid soil, that is sand is the main constituent, so the texture is sandy. Now this soil is highly saline in nature. Now this salinity I have discussed before in the land degradation portion. Generally this happens because of high temperature and faster rate of evaporation of underground water as well as surface water. Now when the water evaporates from the earth's surface or from below, also the underground water rises to the earth's surface through the capillary action and gets evaporated. So what happens? The salts remain on the surface because salts cannot evaporate. It is the water that evaporates. So the salt is left on the surface, making the soil very much saline. This salinity is due to high temperature, dry conditions and faster rate of evaporation. So because of less water and high temperature, faster evaporation, salt is deposited on the surface, and so it is saline in nature. Now because of high temperature also, the activities of bacteria or the decomposers is very poor, and so the organic content of the soil is also very less. There is also another reason, because this part has very less vegetation, so the humus content is very poor. Another unique feature of this soil type is the presence of conker in the lower layers of the soil horizon. Now, this conker happens because of presence of calcium content in the soil. Now, children, whenever any construction work is carried out, you will find that the workers there, they use a large sieve. Sieve, you understand, like chalni that we use in our homes. So that sieve is used to properly remove the conker particles from the sand. Now, this conker particles are present in the sand because of more calcium content, and this conker is found in the lower parts of the soil horizon. It's not present in the topsoil but in the lower layers, and because of the presence of conker, the pores of the soil gets blocked. So when the pores gets blocked, water cannot move from the upper layers to the lower layers, and hence the soil becomes dry. This is a unique feature of the arid soil apart from the other features. And in case of this arid soil, we all know sand is dry, it does not hold water. So in order to cultivate crops in this soil, we need to apply a huge quantity of irrigation water. So children, let me summarize again the arid soil. First, it occupies the desert areas. The color ranges from red to brown because it depends upon the parent rock. It's a transported soil, and it may be blown away to distant land from the place of origin. The soil is saline in nature. The salinity is because the water evaporates faster as the temperature is high and the climate is dry. So when the water evaporates, the salt is left on the surface or close to the earth's surface and makes the soil saline. The humus content is very poor. This poor humus content is mainly due to, first, poor bacterial activity or poor activities of the decomposers, and secondly, this soil lacks vegetation. And of course, there is conker present in this soil. The conker present in the soil blocks the small pores of the soil, and this conker is not present in the top soil, it is present in the lower layers, and hence this conker does not allow the water to move from the upper layers to the lower layers, and because of this the soil body becomes dry in nature. Now this soil can be made cultivable only if lot of irrigation water is supplied. Then it can be utilized for cultivation. But of course, cultivation nowadays in our country is carried out in western Rajasthan with the help of our Indira Gandhi Nahar project. But mostly the drier varieties of different crops are grown here. Then comes our next soil category, that is forest or mountain soil. This is also a transported soil. Why transported? Because from the top layers of the mountain, the huge boulders or rocks, they start rolling down, and this can be carried downstream by the help of glaciers or by the help of running water. Now when they move downstream, that is when they move down the slope, they dash or they strike against the earth's surface. They also collide or dash against each other, and they break into smaller and smaller pieces. and they become smaller and smaller, and hence the texture of the soil varies from the top layer of the mountain to the lower layers of the mountain. So here this from the name itself you can make out the forest and mountain soil occurs in the hilly mountainous areas which are occupied by the rainforest. Another point, as I already said, the texture varies from place to place, because in the upper part of the mountain where they start rolling down, there the soil is coarse grain, means the soil consists of larger particles, larger sized particles, and when they come down in the valley bottom, in the lower parts, in the valley areas, it is occupied by finer particles, and hence so it is loamy and silty. Now this loamy or silty means it's a combination of sand and clay. Now here in the snow covered areas, again the temperatures are very low. So children, you know very well, during the extreme conditions of temperature, generally high temperature and low temperatures, bacteria becomes inactive. So here also in the snow covered areas, bacterial activities is minimum, and so in these areas the soil lacks humus, or the humus content is very poor. Now the soil in the forest areas covered by snow, here the soil is acidic because of poor bacterial activity. It lacks humus also, and the soil is acidic. Now the soil fertility is much more in the lower parts of the valley bottom, that is in the alluvial fans and in the river terraces. Now what are alluvial fans? Now just at the bottom of the mountains, all these materials which roll down the slope of the mountains, they start depositing, and they get deposited in a fan shape. That is, the coarser materials are just right at the bottom, and then they spread out little bit. The finer particles are at the edge. So in my notes I have given you the diagram, you will see it. So the coarser material are just at the base of the mountain, the finer particles spread out in the form of a fan, and so that area is known as alluvial fans. The deposits are alluvial deposit, and because of the shape it is known as fan, alluvial fan. And the other one is river terraces. What are river terraces? In the mountains, the bank of the river is higher. So this bank of the river gets the deposits of the alluvial soil, and it is known as river terraces. I have drawn the diagram for you in the notes, and you will get it in the notes itself. So let me summarize, children. Forest and mountain soil, it's a transported soil, and it's found in those areas which are occupied by mountains and of course covered by rainforest. That is, the amount of rainfall is more. The soil texture is not constant, it varies depending upon the area where it is deposited. It is coarse grain in the upper part, and it is fine grain in the lower parts. Here in the snow covered areas, the bacterial activity is minimum, and hence the soil lacks sufficient humus. For this reason also, the soil is acidic in the snow covered area. And of course, the areas which receive the finer particles, that is the river terraces, that is the bank of the rivers in the mountains, and the alluvial fans which are formed at the base of the mountain, they are having much more soil fertility. Now let me move to the next topic, soil erosion and conservation. Now here, children, three terms are important which you have already studied in your previous classes. The first term is weathering. Weathering is breakdown of the rocks. The breakdown can take place by the action of the different elements of weather and climate like temperature, rainfall, or it can take place through the action of running water, glaciers, sea waves, or it can take place due to human activities. This we have done before also in this chapter. So you simply know this: weathering is the breakdown of the rocks. Then comes the term erosion. Repeatedly you have heard this term, soil erosion, soil erosion. So erosion is the simple removal of the broken pieces. Now this removal is mainly done by the erosive agents. Of course human activities are also involved, but the erosive agents are the one who are mainly responsible for the removal of these broken pieces of rocks. Then comes the term denudation. Denudation is the combination of weathering and erosion, that is breakdown of the rocks and their removal. Both combines together to give rise to the term denudation. Now in this world, in the nature, the process of soil formation and soil erosion goes on in perfect state of balance. They goes on simultaneously. The soil erosion takes place, the rocks break down, and the soil forms. So it occurs in a balanced way. But this balanced activity is disturbed by human interference. How human interference? Human interference takes place by the human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, mining, construction. All these human activities are responsible for disturbing this natural balance of soil erosion and soil formation. And of course we have these natural forces of soil formation, that is the erosive agents, that is main glacier water. They also are responsible for disturbing this natural phenomena, because when the human beings they disturb the erosive forces, they become very active, they speeden up and they start removing the materials very fast. Then we have the stages in soil erosion. See, soil erosion, I have said before, is done by all the different erosive agents. Like wind blows away particles of sand to very distant lands, like in our country the sands are blown even to Uttarakhand. From Rajasthan desert the sand is blown away to Uttarakhand. Along the sea coast the sea waves are very active erosive agents. In the mountainous areas the glaciers are responsible for carrying down huge boulders. In fact, you will be surprised, children, that these glaciers are much more active erosive agents than the rivers in the mountainous areas. Now, let us consider this running water. Now, when I say running water, it can be river water, it can be the rain water. There are three stages in soil erosion carried out by running water. Now, you will find, children, when the raindrops first fall on the ground, just a drop of rain and there is a slight removal of soil from that area. So you can think, when the rain occurs, the soil moves in huge quantities. Now if you watch the rain water running down the slope or running down the area, that water is not crystal clear. Why? Because that water contains soil. The rain water or the running water is carrying soil along with water, and hence the soil is muddy. So at first what will happen? The running water will remove a thin layer of soil. So the topsoil will slightly get lowered, maybe by 0.01 centimeter or maybe even less, but a slight thin layer is removed, and it is removed as a sheet. and so it is known as sheet erosion. This is the first stage of soil erosion. So the normal soil layer gets slightly lowered because of this sheet erosion. Now, if the rain continues for some hours at a stretch, then what will happen? We will find in some places where the slope is more, there will be narrow channels dug by this running water. Means there is more soil removed by this running water in some parts of this slope. So these narrow channels are very thin and they are known as rills. So again, some parts of the remaining portion of topsoil gets damaged. So now it is not a thin just sheet like removal. It is digging narrow or thin channels. So these narrow thin channels are known as rills. So this is the second stage of soil erosion. Then the third stage, if the rain continues for some days together, for continuously if it is raining for some days, then the channels become much more deeper and much more wider, and it gives rise to a V-shaped contour or a V-shaped structure. So the flat land becomes undulating in nature, and this is the third stage. The rills deeper and widen, and the name given to this structure is known as gullies. It is also known as a bad land topography. It is also known as ravine land. Now this is commonly found in the drier areas of our peninsula portion, that is the Chambal basin is very much affected by this gully erosion. Here nothing grows. Why? Because the topsoil has been removed and the land is no longer flat. The land has become undulating and it is occupied by gullies. So this soil erosion by running water can be very harmful. It can bring disaster not only to the top layer of the soil but also to the life of the people living there, because cultivation cannot be carried out as the fertile topsoil has been removed and the flat land has been converted into an undulating land. So apart from these stages in soil erosion by running water, we have these defective methods of farming also responsible for causing soil erosion. Now we have this soil conservation measures. I had said defective methods of farming. So before I move on to this soil conservation measures, like both of them are linked, defective methods of farming and soil conservation measures. So I am saying this topic. Now the first one is contour ploughing. Now along the hill slopes, the farmer, you have studied this in class 8 also, the farmer must cultivate in horizontal beds. Why horizontal beds? Because when the water will come down the slope, at that time they will meet with obstruction and there will be deposition of some soil at every point of obstruction, because the root of the plant will stop the speed of the flowing water and some soil will be deposited. So in the hilly areas, if the farmer cultivates in vertical rows, if they are cultivating in a vertical way, then more and more soil will be removed down the slope, because at some places there will be no obstruction to the flowing water. So to stop the flowing water, to reduce the speed of soil erosion, the farmers must cultivate in horizontal beds, and that is known as contour ploughing. Then comes terrace cultivation. Here the field or is made into terraces. They are the slopes of the hill which are cut into small terraces and used for cultivation. So when the running water comes down, its speed is lowered, or it slows down, and hence this terrace cultivation is a very effective method of cultivation in the hilly areas. Then comes our strip cropping. In strip cropping, a large field is made into strips or rows, and either different sets of crops are grown in different rows, or if a single crop is grown, then in between the rows grasses are grown, so that the grasses hold the soil very firmly and no part of the field is exposed to soil erosion. That is, nowhere the soil is bare. The soil is exposed to erosive agents. So, in case of strip cropping, the soil is entirely covered either by crops or by grasses, and hence the speed of the erosive agent is lower, whether it is running water or it is any agent like the wind. And the last one is the creation of shelter belts. Now, creation of shelter belts will greatly reduce the speed of wind erosion, removal of soil by wind erosion. Here, rows of trees are planted, and these rows of trees act as speed breakers to the movement of wind in the desert areas, and along the sea coast also in our country. The shelter belt has been made, that is, rows of trees has been planted, so that the sea waves cannot take away the soil from the sea coast. And this construction of shelter belts have greatly stopped the shifting of the sand dunes. That is, the stabilization of sand dune has been done. Stabilization means stopping the further advancement of the sand dunes. In case of desert areas, we know sandstorms or dust storms are common, which removes away huge quantities of sand or blows away huge quantities of sand. So this has been stopped by the planting of thorny bushes or trees, and hence they cannot progress further. So it is known as stabilization of sand dunes, that is, stopping the further movement of the sand. Now children, let me start the notes. First, arid soil, it's transported, occupies the desert areas, color ranges from red to brown. Third point, sandy texture as the main constituent is sand. Fourth point, highly saline due to dry climate, high temperature and faster rate of evaporation. Fifth point, poor humus and moisture content in the soil. Sixth point, presence of conker layer in the lower horizons of soil due to increased calcium in these layers. Seventh point, conker concentration affects water percolation to the lower layers, making it more dry. And the last point, requires sufficient irrigation water supply to become more productive. Now coming to the next soil type, that is the forest and mountain soil. Now forest and mountain soil, it's a transported soil. First point, occupies the hilly and mountain areas with rainforest. Second point, variable soil texture, coarse grained in upper slope, loamy and silty in lower parts of valleys. Third point, poor humus content in snow covered areas due to lack of sufficient bacterial activity. Fourth point, soil is acidic in snow covered areas. And fifth point, soil fertility is more in river terraces, that is bank of rivers in the hilly and mountain slopes, and alluvial fans, that is fan-shaped deposits of differently textured soil at the base of mountains. Next comes to the difference between the arid and mountain soil. The first point of difference is that arid soil occupies the desert areas, mountain soil occupies the hilly and mountainous areas. Fourth point, sandy texture. Second point, sandy texture, and this side variable soil texture depending on location. Third point, lacks humus due to high temperature, and this side lacks humus in extreme low temperature areas. Fourth point, presence of conker in lower soil horizons. This side, no such feature is associated with this soil. And the fifth difference, soil can be used for cultivation after proper application of irrigation water, and this side soil is fertile in the lower layers, that is alluvial fans and river terraces. Now here children, I made a diagram of alluvial fans. Now alluvial fans develop at the base of the mountain. The coarser particles are deposited just at the base, and the finer particles are deposited away from the base of the mountain. It is deposited in the shape of a fan, and so the term alluvial fan. So here I have written fan shaped deposits at the base of mountain. So generally this alluvial soil here at the base of the mountain deposited in the shape of a fan is fertile and can be effectively used for cultivation. Here I have made the diagram of river terraces. See, here the river is flowing to the mountain, and the banks of the river is at higher level. Now these banks get deposit of the silt that is carried by the river, and these finer particles make the soil fertile, and hence they can be effectively used for cultivation. Here I have written silt deposited along the bank of river in a mountain slope forms a terrace-like structure. Next, coming to soil erosion conservation. So first we have done the term weathering. So weathering means breakdown of rocks. Then erosion. Erosion is the removal of broken pieces. And then denudation, which is weathering and erosion. Now in this world, soil formation and erosion, it goes on simultaneously, and it goes in a balanced state. So soil erodes, breaks down and forms soil. But this thing again gets disturbed due to human activities, that is deforestation, overgrazing, mining, construction, and this side natural forces like soil erosion by wind, glacier and water. Next, I have stages in soil erosion. The first one is sheet erosion, which is the first stage, where a little bit part of the soil is removed by the running water, and hence from the normal layer the soil's layer gets very slightly lowered. This is the first stage of soil erosion. So a normal soil body in the first stage of soil erosion, now this gets lowered due to the running water, and it is the first stage known as sheet erosion. The second stage is the reel erosion. In this, what happens? Reels are the narrow channels which are dug out by running water. If the rainwater or the running water flows continuously for some hours. So this is the second stage of soil erosion. The third stage is the gully erosion. Now here the reels they get deeper and they become wider also. So these reels now deepen and widen, and the original flat land has become undulating. The most fertile part of the topsoil has been washed away, and so a land which has been affected by gully erosion is not very much fertile for cultivation. So here I have written, due to continuous running of water, the rills become deeper and wider, forming gullies. The gullies are also known as ravines or badland topography, for example, Chambal Valley. Other reasons for soil erosion, one is a very effective agent, that is wind erosion. So loose soil is blown off flat or sloping land. The other reason is the defective methods of farming followed by our farmers both in the plain areas, hilly areas and desert areas. So we have some solution to these defective methods of farming. So let us see what is that. The first one is contour plowing. Plowing in horizontal beds along the hill slopes will slow down the speed of flowing water and reduce soil erosion. So here I have shown you diagrammatically that when in the hill slopes we are cultivating in this vertical manner, so there are gaps in between the rows of the crops. In between the rows of the crops, the soil is bare. So whenever there will be rain or when there will be water flowing down the slopes, so this bare area which is not having any kind of cover on them, protected cover on them, so from these areas the soil will be washed away very fast. So water removes soil very fast in this method. So this is a defective method of cultivation along the hill slopes. So what is the solution? The solution is contour plowing, where vertical beds will be replaced by horizontal beds in this way. So whenever the water will flow down the slope, there is obstruction at each bed. So this will reduce the speed of the flowing water firstly, and at every layer some amount of soil will be deposited when the water will slow down. When the speed of the water will slow down, some silt will be deposited, thereby making the soil fertile, and of course the soil erosion will be reduced. So here what I have written, water meets with obstruction and cannot remove soil fast. So this is the correct method of cultivation. The second solution along the hill slopes is terrace cultivation. So cutting the hill slope in the form of terrace for cultivation. So I have the diagram here. Terrace cultivation, the hill slopes is cut into terraces and crops are grown here. Next I had said strip cropping, where grasses are grown between the rows of crop, which reduces the speed of wind erosion. So here I have again drawn the diagram where these are the crops and these are the grasses. See, I have written here crops and grasses. They should be grown in alternate rows so that no soil layer is exposed to erosive agents. And finally, the shelter belt creation. So what is shelter belt? Rows of trees are planted which act as speed breaker against any erosive force, has greatly helped in stabilization of sand dunes in desert areas. So this shelter belts means planting rows of trees, and this reduces the erosive force. It may be along the sea coast also and in the desert areas where thorny bushes are planted, and it has greatly helped in stabilizing sand dunes in desert areas. So with this soil conservation measures, children, we complete this chapter, but I have some questions for you. The first question is, mention any feature that is common between arid and mountain soil. So here you have to mention any single feature which is common to both the soil type. Second question, define alluvial fans and river terraces. What type of soil is found here? Third, how is balance between soil formation and erosion gets disturbed? Fourth question, name the stages of soil erosion by running water. Fifth, define gullies. Which river basin of India has been affected by gully erosion? And lastly, which is the best soil conservation measure in desert areas and how? That is, you have to write how we should conserve the soil in desert areas. So, this is there for your homework, children. What you have to do, you please write down the notes and draw the diagrams, and at the end of this portion do the question answers. And from my next class we will again start revising, and I will also discuss the questions that I have given to you from the beginning of this chapter. Thank you, children.